As Spire stood on the bridge, staring at the tactical screen of his fleet, a feeling of discomfort washed over him, not from the external enemies closing in, but from the division that was creeping in within his own ranks. The war against chaos had drained his fleet, but that was not the only issue. Now he was facing a much more dangerous threat: betrayal from within the ranks of the Imperium. A portion of the Imperial Navy under his command, possibly manipulated by chaos or corrupted by treacherous officials within the Imperium, had suddenly turned against Spire at the most crucial moment. Signs of this betrayal had begun to show clearly. Ships were no longer following orders, officers were no longer communicating directly with Spire, and certain units began to act on their own, causing confusion throughout the fleet. "Admiral, we've lost contact with parts of the fleet. They're not following orders.
Commander, the enemy fleet is accelerating.
System is compromised," an officer reported, his voice filled with worry. Spire stared at the tactical display, where his ships were beginning to move independently, no longer following the central command. He understood that this wasn't just about disobedience, it was a clear sign of betrayal. "We need to act immediately," Spire said, his gaze sharp and determined.
"The enemy fleet has changed course.
This division cannot continue. This is not just a battle against the enemies outside the Imperium. It's a battle against those who should have been our comrades." Meanwhile, officers began discussing the situation. Some of them began doubting Spire, questioning his decisions in the recent campaigns, while others loyal to him kept fighting. But the seeds of doubt began to take root, weakening their morale. One of Spire's most trusted officers, Captain Darius, stepped forward. "Admiral, we can't ignore this division any longer. Some of the ships have joined the other side or have made contact with external forces. If we don't act now, the fleet will no longer be a unified force." Spire knew this was a pivotal moment. His decision would not only affect the outcome of this battle, but could change the entire course of the war. But he also understood that without unity, his fleet would fall apart. "We will not let the Imperium be torn apart from within," Spire said, his voice resolute. "Whether we face enemies from outside or betrayal from within, we will stand strong. This is our fight." The situation aboard the ship grew increasingly tense, and Spire knew that time was running out. His fleet was fractured, and the critical question now was how to restore unity without causing further disintegration. He needed to act swiftly, and this time it was not just about battlefield tactics, it was about psychological and political strategy. Everyone aboard the fleet understood that this division could not continue. Every officer in the fleet could be manipulated or drawn into external forces. Some officers had begun to listen to the temptations of traitors within the Imperium, those who sought to exploit the doubt and division within the fleet for personal gain. Spire knew he could not rely solely on firepower to resolve this. He needed to rein in the negative emotions within his crew, while also maintaining loyalty to the Imperium. Only through unity could he achieve victory. "We will split the fleet and conduct a divided march," Spire announced, gathering his officers. "One part of the fleet will continue forward, but the other will turn back to deal with those ships that have betrayed us. If we do not stop this division, it will be the end for us." Darius looked at Spire, his face grim. "Admiral, splitting the fleet will leave us vulnerable. We will struggle to deal with the chaos forces if we're divided like this." "True," Spire replied, his voice steady. "But unity is the most important thing right now. If we can't restore trust within our ranks, then even if we win the battle, we will never last. If we cannot hold on to loyalty, our fleet will fail, no matter the outcome of any fight." Spire issued the orders to execute the plan. One part of the fleet would retreat to deal with the traitorous ships, while the rest would continue fighting chaos. It was a risky move, because if the betraying fleet attacked now, Spire would not be able to control his forces completely. "Officers, prepare for the execution of our strategy. Every decision must be swift and precise," Spire commanded. This division could be the greatest vulnerability Spire would face. but he knew that only by dealing with the betrayal within his fleet could he continue to fight, even if he had to sacrifice trusted soldiers. Spire knew that victory in this war could only be achieved if he had control of the situation from within. The plan to divide the fleet was in motion, but the tension within the fleet was far from over. Part of Spire's fleet turned back, facing those ships that had betrayed him, while the rest continued to fight. Chaos. Spire could not ignore the division, but he also understood that only through unity could they hope to survive. Darius, one of Spire's most trusted officers, stood beside him as the traitorous ships began to move toward them. Admiral, this betrayal cannot continue. These officers are no longer fighting for the Imperium. We cannot let betrayal win.
Yes, Admiral?
Spire replied, his voice filled with determination. If we cannot face this betrayal, we will never defeat any other enemy. The situation outside the fleet was no better.
Admiral,
the Chaos
traitor
forces,
fleet is splitting.
with their massive
Some are heading
warships
for the
and
Chaos
terrifying,
formations.
destructive power, continued to close in. Radar signals indicated that they were preparing for a major attack. Space around them became suffocating, filled with energy waves, the roar of cannon fire, and flashes of light from explosions. But in that chaos, Spire knew that if he could not keep his crew united, they would never succeed. An officer from the traitor fleet reported the progress of the Chaos ships.
Admiral, the Vanguard is combat ready.
They're closing in on attack positions. If we don't act immediately, we won't be able to avoid their strike. Spire quickly formulated a plan and made a critical decision. All ships from our fleet will focus their fire on the Chaos warships. We need to destroy them before they can launch a full-scale attack. With a short but firm command,
Admiral,
Spire's fleet changed course, heading toward the Chaos forces. His ships charged forward,
We are past
carrying
the point of no
last
return.
hope of victory. But deep in his heart,
You have your orders.
Spire couldn't forget the betrayal that was unfolding within his own ranks. The commander of the traitor fleet, a high-ranking officer within the Imperial Navy, had made his move. No longer trusting Spire, he saw his strategies as dangerous for the Imperium. Quietly, he had approached senior officials within the Imperium, plotting to remove Spire from command. What should we do with Spire? One of the officers of the traitor fleet asked the commander. Can he lead the Imperium any longer? The commander looked at his officers, his eyes cold. We will not let a traitor lead us. He has become too dangerous. Prepare yourselves, for this battle will decide everything. Meanwhile, the battle with Chaos continued. Massive explosions and relentless bombardments tore through space, but in Spire's heart, he knew that the real war was not just against Chaos, it was against the betrayal within his own fleet. Spire's fleet was in a perilous position. The traitorous part of his fleet was advancing rapidly, their warships firing with deadly precision, while the rest of Spire's fleet continued to hold the line against the forces of Chaos. The space around them had become a brutal battleground, where no soldier could hold their resolve
look at this.
when faced with two simultaneous dangers. Admiral, we can't keep going like this, Darius reported, his voice filled with tension. The betrayal within our ranks is becoming more evident. Some of our ships have officially broken away and are now heading towards Chaos. If we don't act quickly, we'll be finished. Spire looked at the tactical display, where his ships were facing not only the Chaos army but also the betrayal within his own ranks. A few of his ships had broken off and were rapidly moving toward the enemy. However, he couldn't let this division tear everything apart. We must deal with this betrayal now, Spire said, his voice low but filled with determination. If not, it will not just be the battle with Chaos, it will be our own demise.
Admiral,
it was a decisive moment, and Spire knew that there was only one way to keep his fleet intact. He will have to attack the traitorous ships, preventing them from posing a further threat to the rest of the fleet. Darius, coordinate the remaining fleet. We will end this betrayal now. Our ships will attack the traitorous ones. Only when they stop can we face Chaos. Darius nodded, accepting the orders. Understood, Admiral. The battle began. Spire's ships charged toward the traitorous fleet without hesitation. The sound of Cannons erupted, and the warships clashed in a merciless struggle. In the vastness of space, explosions lit up the sky like flashes of sacrifice. This was not just a physical battle, it was a battle to maintain trust within Spire's fleet. "We cannot lose faith in each other. No betrayal can defeat us," Spire ordered, his voice ringing through the comms. As the traitorous ships were destroyed, the remaining fleet shifted focus and attacked the Chaos Army. Everything happened in a single moment, like a whirlwind, each shot, each explosion marking the sacrifice of loyal soldiers, those who had never doubted Spire. But they knew that even if they won this battle, the betrayal within still left a wound that would not easily heal. After the fierce battle with both betrayal and the forces of chaos, Spire's fleet had finally regained some semblance of unity. Despite the heavy losses, he had won a battle that was not just about firepower, but about the strength of spirit and loyalty. His officers, once doubtful, were now fighting not only for the Imperium but for themselves, for the comrades who had sacrificed everything. Spire stood on the bridge, staring at the tactical screen as his fleet began to stabilize. In the distance, the wreckage of the Chaos warships was being pulled into the black void of space. But it had not been an easy victory. In this battle, Spire had paid a heavy price. The betrayal from within his own ranks would linger in his mind. Although the Chaos forces had been pushed back, Spire's fleet could never return to what it once was. A wound had been created, and it would not heal easily. Every victory comes at a price, Spire thought to himself, his voice barely a whisper. But we won, because we held on to unity. His fleet continued to move forward, not just to fight against external enemies, but to preserve everything they had fought for. In his heart, Spire felt a renewed sense of purpose. Nothing could break the unity of those who were loyal. And no matter what challenges lay ahead, he knew that only unity could ensure lasting victory. "We will not stop," Spire said, his voice resolute. "This battle is not over. Whatever enemies we face, we will stand firm for the Imperium, for our loyalty." His officers, those who had fought beside him, now understood that victory was not just about military success. It was a victory of spirit, of resolve, in a universe full of betrayal and cruelty. But as he gazed at his warships, Spire could not deny one thing. Even though they had won, the wounds remained, and more battles, more trials would come. And in his heart, one question lingered. Would the Imperium ever recognize those who protected them from the darkness?